host of the Gridiron.
All right. Welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you give this video a thumbs up or share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please get down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed, thank you. If you want to help support my channel now, description box below, very top link, takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. I thank you in advance. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link. Takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,500 members in the group. It is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I am putting stuff in this group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, another day, another dollar. This one here I saw. Well, rightfully so. This guy here is kind of pretty high on Cam Ward. The dude's got, he's got a lot going for him. The thing is obviously is that, there's the 2 quarterback needy teams in front of the Giants, right? Then you have quarterback needy teams just behind the Giants that could jump up if one of them were in love with one of these guys, right? Because, you have the allure, right, of Carter, Hunter, right? That might, overpower whatever the allure of Ward or Sanders, right? The thing is that, is Sanders and Ward, top 2 quarterbacks in this draft, are they worthy of a top 5 pick, top 3, top 4 pick? Are they worthy of that? All right, that's the thing that that you got to be worried about. Obviously, everybody's got their own opinions, right? I take the opinions of the experts. I try not to, judge too much by myself. So I take the opinions of others, and all I know is, if Daboll and Shane really have their all chips in the middle of the table on one of these guys, and they're there, obviously take them. But if you got some, reserves on either one of these guys, and they're there, don't want to take. You don't want to be reaching, right? Let's hope, right, that they're looking for the best. Shane and Daboll looking for the best for the Giants going forward, right? And they're not so much like, we got to get a quarterback in here or we're gone, So, because the thing is, if you get a like a bridge quarterback. If we're going to talk about Stafford here in a little bit, but if there's somebody out there that don't think you can, as far as like a bridge quarterback, you bring somebody in here, the hold the fort down, hold the torch, carry the torch, and pass the torch on to the next. You kind of wondering how long they're going to wind up having their jobs for, So you're kind of hoping that they, if they do take, if one of these guys is there, Water Sanders, and if they wind up taking them, they kind of hoping that they're doing what's best for the Giants organization, team going forward, and not so much what's best maybe for their job. Because, there's no doubt about it, right? If you take Sanders or Ward, it's going to be, the excitement. It's going to be a lot of excitement, and the fan base and all of that and everything, right? But they also have to be the right guy too. I mean, obviously somebody like what the Commanders got. I mean, hit a grand slam with Jaden Daniels, no question about that, right? But just because you draft a guy, you'll have the initial excitement and all and everything, but he's got to be the right guy. The thing is, what made so wonderful with Daniels, where the Commanders' point of view, whatever, is that it wasn't like Caleb Williams, right? Caleb Williams had some nice numbers and all that stuff and everything. The Commanders also they brought. I didn't think it was going to work out, right? Because a lot of times you bring in a lot of free agents. You bring in a new coach, you knew this, you knew that, knew everything. You bring in 300 new free agents and all that stuff, and sometimes it just don't work out. I mean, it's just like it's not recipe for success. And for them, it worked out really well. But also, obviously, we saw how good Jaden Daniels is. It's after Daniels' first season, it wasn't like, well, he took some lumps. He had some good stuff. He had some bad, all right. But let's let him keep working. Let him working at his craft, and hopefully by the second year he'll get a little better. In the third year, and he'll be really I mean, that guy came in and just did phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I mean, tough to say if he's the best quarterback in the NFC East. Obviously better than anything the Giants have. He's better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts just has a very good team. That's what Jalen Hurts has. I mean, you'll never if the Eagles win the next 300 Super Bowls, I'll never be impressed with the Eagles, and I'll never be overly impressed with Jalen Hurts. I mean, anyway, I can't stand Eagles, but so it's kind of tough. I mean, Jaden Daniels, you have to put him, right on par there with. Actually, you could probably put him ahead of Dak because, right, Jaden Daniels came in his first season, led him to a playoffs, and he also won, right, in the playoffs. So something Dak doesn't do. Dak gets these gaudy numbers during the regular season, this, that, and the other thing, and blah, 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 all that stuff. When they get to the playoffs, they lay an egg. Well, the Commanders didn't do that, right? So got to give the Commanders a lot of credit. Right? It got blown out. Really wasn't necessarily the offense's fault. I didn't watch the game because it was the Eagles. I'm not going to never watch an Eagle game, right? But I mean, you see why the score. I mean, so obviously the Commanders' defense was somewhat of a problem against the Philadelphia Eagles. But I mean, they hit it out of the park, right? But the thing is that a lot of people also it was kind of like why didn't we trade up and get one of these guys? I mean, we couldn't. Commanders weren't trading. The Patriots weren't trading. We tried to trade with the Patriots. They just weren't going to trade. And you weren't going to trade with the Bears. So the top three quarterbacks that came up didn't have a chance at them. Didn't have a chance. So it is what I mean. Unless. So I mean, if maybe they were going to throw like 3 1s and a couple 2s or something like that, maybe at the pay. I don't know if the Commanders would have traded with the Giants. Plain and simple. Giants trading up with the Commanders grab a big haul of picks and all and everything. But were the Commanders going to let the Giants jump up and grab a quarterback? Probably not. Right. The thing was. What happened with the obviously a couple of years ago with Devontae Smith when the Eagles jumped over the Giants and grabbed Devontae? Well, that was a wide receiver, so you can kind of the Cowboys still got the better player, They still got Parsons, and they got some extra draft capital as well. So the Cowboys did good, but that was wasn't for a quarterback. Now I couldn't see any way at all where the Commanders were going to let the Giants jump up and draft the quarterback. It wasn't going to happen. So basically, the Patriots won at May, right? That was their guy, right? Might have been better if they took the Angels, but it looks like they got themselves a quarterback for the future. Good for them. Looks like the Bears got themselves a quarterback, and now if they can ever get the coaching situated, they get somebody in there, right, who can take hold of the team, right? Caleb could really take off. He's got some weapons there, right? But they get a coach in there who doesn't have his head up his rear end, right? I mean, Caleb could take off, right? So, so it looks like those top three picks without question. And you look at, Knicks, right? So, I mean, it's good picks. I mean, we don't know about McCarthy, right? Penix, it was in there briefly, right? So, I mean, a lot of good quarterbacks. Unfortunately, the Giants needed a quarterback, but, we still hit it out of the park with Neighbors. So you can't really get too ticked off about that. Neighbors is a dog, straight up dog. So if we drafted a quarterback, everybody complaining we don't have a dog of a wide receiver, right? So we got ourselves a dog of a wide receiver. Now we need a quarterback, right? But we hit it out of the park. But all right, so this is from the Empire Sports Media. This guy, it's like Alexander Wilson. So with a bit of draft luck could change the Giants franchise for the next 10 years. Once again, this has nothing to do with, what this guy who wrote this article says. It's nothing to do with what the Lucky Charms leprechaun has to say about this, what Santa Claus has. What does Shane and Daboll think about these quarterbacks? Right? Do they like them both? Do they like just one? Right? If they like Cam Ward and Sanders falls to them, are they going to pass on Sanders? Do they like Sanders? And if Sanders gets taken and Cam Ward falls, are they going to pass on Moore? I mean, it all matters. It doesn't matter what Mel Kiper thinks. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Doesn't matter. Matters what Shane and Daboll think, right? And a lot of it's Daboll, because Daboll's looking at these guys, and he's the scientist. He's the mad scientist, right? He's like, what can I do with this guy? Can this guy fit in my, right? Well, it's also not so much that. It's also, can he fit into my? No, it's can I work something with this guy? And can we, right? Can we make some things happen? Right. So, all right. But the Giants land Miami quarterback Cam Ward with the 3rd overall pick. They might be looking at a franchise-altering stroke of luck. While many have written off this quarterback class as underwhelming, history has shown that pre-draft narratives don't always hold weight once these players actually hit the field. Giants need a quarterback with legitimate all-pro upside, and Ward's fits Brian Daboll's offense like a glove. There you go. Now, let's not forget, right? Ward I think he was at Washington State as well, too. He did very well there. I came to the U, did very well there, too. Right? 2 different schools did very well at. So Ward has all the traits that make him a dream prospect for an offensive mind like Daboll. He's an explosive playmaker with the ability to extend plays, which Sanders does not. Which would kind of think be the exact opposite. I mean, if you ever saw Deion Sanders run with the football, I mean, live. I don't mean on tape or nothing like that. I don't mean let me pop in a YouTube video. No, I mean, if you ever saw him live on TV, I mean, there were times, I mean, I swear to God, he'd be like returning a punt. And I just swear to God, like he'd be running like maybe through like the middle of the field, and it was just like everybody else was just standing still, and he was just like gone. I mean, it was just, so you would kind of think, right, it'd be a little bit different. You can almost see Shador, right, being the guy, with the flashy taking off and speed and all that stuff. But no, obviously it's, and not that Cam is like, Deion Sanders fast. There's not many people like that on the face of the earth. But Cam's the one, maybe take off with the ball, right? Let's see. The 22-year-old completed 67.2% of his passes last season, throwing for 39 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions. His 76.5 adjusted completion rate shows that when he's locked in, he's an incredibly accurate passer. So his adjusted completion rate was over 3/4, right? It was over 75%. Now, however, Ward has a tendency to play too much hero ball, sometimes abandoning his mechanics and forcing throws across the field. That kind of aggressive playmaking can be both a gift and a curse, especially in the NFL. Unlocking Ward's potential. For Ward to reach his full potential, he needs to improve his rhythm and timing in the passing game, something that can get worked on. His processing speed must also take a step forward so he can better diagnose NFL coverages and make more efficient decisions. So that's something that needs to be stewed on by day and all that. His processing speed, right, must take a step forward. Once again, the diagnose coverages and stuff like that. They're looking at the film and all of that. It's not, it's like you got a computer. It's got a processor in it, right? That's the processor. That's the speed of the computer. That's the processing speed, right? So it's can it get better? Can it get faster? Yeah, that's usually the $1 million question a lot of times. Because sometimes you look at Daniel Jones dropping back in the pocket. He's just like looking at one guy. It's like, why are you just looking at the one receiver? Don't you got like 4 or 5 guys out there running around? Why are you like looking at one guy? Why? It's like, are we going to look around a little bit? Maybe try to fake the defense out a little? So, if it was that easy to process the coverages and the anticipation and all, everybody would be doing this, right? If it was that easy. So that's why there's 352 trillion people on the face of the earth, and we can't even get 32 top-notch quarterbacks. 32. Can't even get 32. Every year there's 10 teams looking for a quarterback every year? And probably about this is close to maybe being about the same as this year. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 teams, whatever. Right? Because obviously also sometimes as you always have teams looking, but then you have teams that, are guys that are, retiring. Right. And you got Aaron Rodgers kind of, so you're going to have somebody, Aaron Rodgers is on the way. You're going to need somebody to replace Aaron Rodgers. Matthew Stafford's there, but how much longer can Matthew Stafford go? You have to replace him. You know what I mean? Said, Drew Brees retired a few years ago, Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Brady, Rivers, all those guys retired. You got to replace those guys. It's not that easy. That's why every year there's always teams looking for quarterbacks every year. And guess what? There will always be teams looking for quarterbacks every year. Let's see, we got his arm talent is undeniable. He can hit every throw on the field, whether it's threading a needle on third down or launching a deep ball down the sideline. The one area that needs refinement is his intermediate and short accuracy. where his sidearm release sometimes causes passes to sail over his receivers' heads. Ward was the best fourth quarter passer in the country this past season. And for Giants fans, that should be music to their ears. They need a clutch factor, one Eli Manning had all those years. With the right coaching, Ward is everything it takes to be a star. Daboll has already molded a raw, high upside quarterback into an elite talent before with Josh Allen. The Giants take Ward and put him in a structured system that keeps him mechanically sound. They could finally have their franchise quarterback. Yeah, I mean, because you look at what Allen was doing, right? I mean, in college, I mean, my God, I think he was completing a little over 50% of his passes. Yeah, I mean, now he's now whatever, I don't know, whatever you got him, top 5 quarterback, right? So. Yeah, so Ken, the thing is also, which is always going to be a problem, which is a huge problem, is that, if we do take Sanders or Ward or whatever, right, how long does Daboll/Shane have to mold them into some type of a franchise quarterback? Because the problem is going to be is, if Shane and Daboll get pushed out the door, which is possible, the next coach who comes in, is going to be like, this is my quarterback. Yeah. I don't know. You know what I mean? Same thing what happened with Shane and Daboll when they came in. John Mara's like, all right, Shane, you're the GM. There's one little caveat, though. Daniel Jones is your quarterback. Congratulations. You know what I mean? So, right, you're Daniel Jones. Ta-da! Here's your quarterback, right? And they brought in Daboll, and ta-da! Here's your quarterback. So that's going to be the problem, right? So if they bring in whoever they bring in, if they draft Sanders or Ward, right? And if Daboll and Shane get kicked out the door after a year or two or whatever, you kind of hope that they'd have at least 2 years. They draft one of these young quarterbacks, right? And bring them in. You kind of hope they'll have at least 2 years. Usually you get that mulligan, that gimme first year. And then the second year, well, this guy better start doing something or it's bye-bye. I said, but the problem is that the next regime that comes in, they got to have to, fall in love with whoever you just drafted because you're going to have him for another 2 years at least, right? And you pick up his 5th-year option, maybe 3, you know what I mean? Or else you'd be drafting another quarterback all over, doing this all over again. So that's why it's so important to hit on those draft picks. But unfortunately now it seems like the top dog, right? I don't know if this is ever going to fall. Yeah, I mean, really, to be a free agent, what was his? Let me see here. Is this it? Yeah, 28 million. I mean, this is that what PFF. It's all going by. Has T. Higgins, right, projected. Once again, it's all PFF, right? To make about $28 million a year. Right? What was that? What would that be? Okay, $67.5 million guaranteed, 4 years, $28 million, $112 million for 4 years, 67, about a little more than half, which is about right, guaranteed. So, I don't know if the Giants were ever going to go after Higgins, but it looks like he's going to be tagged. Burrow was really put, and I don't blame the dude. When you got Chase and Higgins, I mean, it's almost like pick your poison. I mean, the problem with the Bengals was this year wasn't their offense; it was their defense was horrible, and that's why Lou Anarumo, who was with the Giants back in the late teens for a spell, I think it was their cornerback coach. I think it was. He was very, very good. He got canned. But their defense, of course, except when the one game they played the Giants, then of course that one game they looked like the greatest defense ever graced the earth. But the rest of the season, when they weren't playing the Giants, their defense was not very good at all. So that was the Bengals' problem was their defense. They need to reload on their defense, especially on maybe in the draft and everything. They really need to beef that up. But I mean, I can't blame Burrow. I mean, if this is what's going to wind up happening, it looks like they're going to quite possibly tag Higgins maybe for the second season in a row. I think he made like $21 million last season, and they might wind up tagging him, right? But then that gives them, a chance. You can only tag the one guy, right? So you can't tag him and then sign him to a long-term deal and tag something. No. But it looks like they're going to tag him, which will give him a couple months, I believe, to work out maybe a long-term deal with Higgins going forward. And I mean, that would be that. I mean, that makes the most sense for them. I mean, because if you got the quarterback, if you can keep Burrow upright and don't get him injured, right? You got your quarterback and you got your two wide receivers out there, and it all starts working off of that, right? The thing is, can they get a defense on the field that, right? But the thing would be that if, you know what you got with Higgins, they can certainly draft, obviously, draft a wide receiver. Be a heck of a lot cheaper if they drafted let Higgins go, save themselves some money, and draft a wide receiver, right? But then that would, also the problem with that is they need help on the defense. So, but I mean, the nice thing, what you got with Higgins, you know what you got with Chase, and you know what you got with Burrow. So they have their offensive firepower right there. So it looks like Higgins is going to be franchise tag once again. So, but look at any other, some of these other guys, some of these other free agents, unless we're talking Darius Slayton, right? Be ashamed to let him go and bring somebody else in here, right? The thing is that some of these guys are a little temperamental. They want their targets. So you got to remember that, who you bringing in too, because some of these guys are just big babies. And if they don't get their targets, they're going to cry, wee, all the way home. I mean, it's just some of these guys it's absolutely amazing. Like Stephon Diggs, it always seems like wherever he goes, it always seems like there's a problem. And there was a problem in Minnesota. There was a problem at Buffalo. I'm not a big fan of Stephon. I mean, he can be phenomenal, but he's got to be the man. Right? He's got to get his targets, and if he's not getting his targets, boy, we got a problem. Houston, we got a problem. So he comes here. Doesn't matter what you pay him. He's not getting as many targets. Malik's getting the targets. And we saw last year, I mean, Malik and Wandale had over 300 targets between the two of them. Now, what we got to do with Wandale is we got to find a way for the guy to catch a pass and get more than like half a yard, right? I mean, the guy averaged like 7 yards of reception or something. It's like, that's not impressive. But, I mean, I said what was impressive was the amount of targets. And, I mean, between the two of them, they had over 200 receptions. I mean, really good. Really, really good. But, I mean, if you look at some of these guys, yeah. So we got Higgins. Let's say we'll go to wide receiver here position. Here we are. Godwin. Okay, Godwin's next. I seen something about him. I'm not exactly sure if they were trying to re-sign him or not. He's 20. He'll be 29. But once again, $20 million a year. PFF projects him. Okay, 3 years, $20 million a year, $40 million guaranteed for a grand total. 3 years, $60 million, $40 million guaranteed. So yeah, I mean, once again, let's say he maintained a standard 21, earned an 85.7 PFF receiving grade through nearly 7 weeks without a single drop on 52 catchable targets. So, however, Godwin sustained a season-ending left ankle dislocation. He is no stranger to entering free agency with an injury, and hopefully the recovery will be even quicker this time around. So, I mean, once again, fantastic, player. I don't know if the Giants want to spend $20 million on a wide receiver when we have other pressing needs, I mean, cornerback would be one, obviously, defensive line. I'm not so sure how they want to attack the offensive line. Are they happy with what they got? They're going to bring back Van Roten, maybe try to hit something heavy with the guard. If Van Roten's not going to be there, right? Have Illuminor, Neal, and Thomas as being the tackles, right? I mean, I said, we got Schmitz, we got, so we need one guard, right? We got Runyon, right, as the left guard, unless we bring Van Roten back, which would be on the cheap. But I mean, even if we do bring Van Roten back, which would be great, be cool, it would be awesome. I wouldn't have any problem with that at all. But we do need a future guard somewhere along the line, which might be something to look forward to maybe in the draft, right? Which we're going to talk about in a couple minutes here. The offensive line, right? Then the next we got Amari Cooper, right? He's 30. He'll be 31 soon. Before the season starts, he'll be 31. Let's see, PFF once again grades him. Let's see, 2 years, $17.5 million. Once again, $25 million guaranteed. 30 years old, he'll be 31. Cooper will be an attractive option for teams looking to improve at wide receiver, having earned a PFF receiving grade above 70 in every full season he has been in the league. He struggled with drops in 2024, though, failing to bring in 15.4% of the catchable passes thrown in his way in the regular season. Then you got Stephon Diggs. Now, apparently, according to PFF, they think maybe he would get like a 1-year deal for $16 million. 79 grade. He's 31. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. The star wideout was on pace to extend his streak of seasons with a PFF receiving grade above 75 and drop rate below 10% on catchable pass before his season-ending ACL tear down. So, I mean, that's the one problem there is a lot of times with an ACL tear, as you can come back, the next season from an ACL tear, but a lot of times it's not till the second season that you're back up to speed, full speed, if not even a little bit better than you were maybe before. So, I mean, this year, to bring in Stephon Diggs, he's may not be up to speed, top speed, shall we say. Now, if you were like maybe a guard or something like that, you'd have to run around a lot. Maybe that might be one thing, but when you're when your job requires that you run your rear end off, that may not be the best maneuver for him, so we'll have to wait and see. But I said, but I don't know. Diggs, it always seems like there's a problem wherever he winds up going. I don't know. I'm not too much. And to get somebody just coming off, and especially for one season, if with Diggs, it's like if we were like, if I could say we were like, I don't want it makes me throw up to think about this, but if we were like the Eagles, right? And we were, that packed and that, all of that, and we just need, we need a little more firepower. For 1 year, I'd bring him in. Absolutely. Especially if you got a couple other real good wide receivers or something like that, bring Diggs in there and have the defense have to worry about a Diggs. He maybe not even at 100%, right? And with the coming back from the ACL. But I mean, if he's got a couple other great wide receivers, or somebody like Cincinnati, right? They got Higgins and they got Chase, and then you bring stuff on, maybe Diggs in there if you can fit him in there. That would be fantastic. But for the Giants to bring him in for like 1 year, and he's not taking us to the promised land or anything like that. I really don't see the Giants bringing in Diggs. And then you got got D-Hop. The man seems like he just keeps on going. Looks like he'll be 33 soon. Okay. PFF has him at 2 years, about $13.5 million a season. All right. Hopkins was traded at the trade deadline from the struggling Titans to the Chiefs. A natural spotlight through the playoffs never hurts, and Hopkins continued to play through a knee injury, which suggests he can fully heal up over the offseason in time for 2025. But once again, I mean, bringing somebody that old, I mean, as I said, he's going to be 33. You know, yeah. If we're going to spend $13, $14, $15 million, I'd rather have us bring in like a stud guard or somebody like that, right? Or somebody on a defensive line, or get a real good edge rusher or something like that. Brown from once again from Kansas City. Looks like they got quite a few guys here. PFF has him, Marquise Brown, at 2 years, $9 million a year, $10 million guaranteed. Brown was expected to be a marquee addition to the Chiefs receiving group in need of playmakers, but instead missed almost the entire regular season with a shoulder injury. There's no better time to prove your value than during the playoffs. Brown posted a PFF receiving grade between 68.1 and 68.7 each of the past 3 years, giving teams an indication of what brings to the table. Darius, and of course, Darius Slayton. Let's not forget about him. Okay, now, I mean, he's only 28. PFF has him at 3 years, $12.5 million a year, which, I mean, $25 million guaranteed. Basically, that's almost like a Saquon Barkley deal, right? 3 years, $25 million guaranteed, $37.5 total, right? $12.5 million a year. Right around the Saquon Barkley deal, right? I say he's 28. I mean, I don't know. It's, it just, I don't know. It's kind of like, a lot of times the Giants seem to do this. Like they'll let one guy go, right? Maybe somebody they drafted and all that hadn't been on the team for a little while. They'll just let him go, and then they'll bring in somebody else who's really not any better than the guy they just let go. Let's say. But the thing is, with Darius, it seemed like after the season was over, they were talking to him after, I think, the final game of the season, and it seemed like what he was saying, if he was saying the truth, then he seemed like he wanted to go someplace where maybe get a little more involved in the offense. And this is the first year in quite some time. He fell. Usually he's like Mr. 700 yards, almost automatic. On a crappy team, crappy offense, crappy quarterback play, all this stuff, 700 yards almost every year. That wasn't the case this year because Wandale and Malik got most of the targets. I got over 300 targets between the two of them. So it sounded like Darius wants to go someplace where he get maybe a little more of an opportunity, right, to participate, shall we say. So it didn't sound like he'd be open to. I mean, maybe he'd be open to coming back, but I'm sure there might be greener pastures out there for him. So I just would hate if the Giants would let Darius go, who's been on the team for, since 2019, right? And then we, let him go and then bring somebody else in who just does about the same thing. All right, then let's see who else we got here. And of course, we got Keenan Allen. He'll be 33 soon. He was with the Bears. Deontay Johnson was with Carolina. He was cheap. Mike Williams, right, with Pittsburgh. So there are some guys out there, but, a lot of guys, you'll notice Williams. I mean, this is just the top guys from PFF. That's all I'm going by. But you'll notice here, right, is that Williams is 30. Deontay Johnson is be 29. Keenan Allen will be 33. Right? Darius Slayton just turned 28. Marquise Brown's 27. He'll be 28 soon. Right? D-Hop, he'll be 33. Diggs is 31. Cooper will be 31. Godwin will be 29, right? and T. Higgins is 26. But that's why that's why he's going to get franchise tagged, quite possibly, and he's the number one guy, right? But you'll notice one thing: there's not a lot of real stud young wide receivers hitting the free agent market. A lot of these top guys, right, are older. So, but once again, I'm sure the Giants could also, now they need to hit on it, but you can certainly draft, obviously, a wide receiver. Let's not, grab somebody in the first round, but, you can certainly grab somebody in the, second or third round. But let's, once again, if we draft a wide receiver in third round, hint, hint, let's hit on him. Let's hit on somebody who can maybe run some routes, get on the field, catch some balls. Wouldn't that be nice? So, I just don't know what's going to happen with Jalen Hyatt. We'll have to wait and see. But the Giants, we're going to talk a little bit here about the salary cap. Right? The Giants will have some money to spend, but so I'll have to wait and see. Without question, the Giants can't be happy, especially with what they have with Hyatt, from last year anyway. They can't be totally thrilled over the moon with their wide receiver group depth and all that stuff. I mean, the top couple are Wandale and Malik, yeah. But if they let Slayton go, that's the number 3 guy, then there's a little bit of tail off between with Hyatt, right? So they need to add some bodies, that's for sure. But then again, they have quite a few areas where they need to add some bodies, that's for sure. But I did this with Amani Toomer. It was like last week. He said the Giants just looking like poop, right? So he's still going off on the Giants here. He's not. He said the current Giants state is unacceptable. So he's not happy. He's not happy with the Giants. The road they're going down, how they're being looked at from the rest of the NFL and everything. Like they're just a total embarrassment and all that, right? Let's see here. We got the old Darius Slayton here. Oh, this is a long, oh my God, it's a long arm. Disappointed legend of Monty Toomer to the Giants. Show me the baby. Show me something to be proud of, which is farthest thing the Giants are doing. So one thing was when Amani Toomer got to the Giants as a second-round pick out of Michigan in 1996, Dan Reeves was the Giants coach. That would be Dan Reeves' 4th season. Reeves was there 93, 94, 95, 96. That was Reeves. That'll be Reeves' last season with the Giants. And Reeves and George Young, the Giants GM, did not get along, Toomer recalled late last week. So everybody would be in the locker room talking. Taking stock of who brought you here. Toomer, who was 50, Super Bowl champion, the Giants Ring of Honor, said there was a defensive lineman that Dan Reeves signed. Gave a big signing bonus, but George Young didn't like him. So halfway through training camp, they cut him. Then because George Young cut one of Dan Reeves' guys, Dan Reeves turned around and cut one of George Young's guys. So it just became this thing where the main thing wasn't the main thing, Toomer continued. It wasn't about how well you performed on the field. It was about how well you fit in, who likes you, who brought you here. And it was just a total cancer because we knew at the end of the day, it didn't matter how great you played. If they didn't want you, they didn't want you. That toxic dynamic ended, however, when Ernie Accorsi and Jim Fossil took over in 97. They cut all of that out, Toomer said. I remember Fossil's first meeting, he was like, I don't have a lot of rules because I don't want to fine you. Right? He said, I just want you guys to come in and play. If you play well, you'll be here. If you don't, you will not. Okay, much more simpler than that. Giants gradually ascended as a franchise from there with a Super Bowl appearance in 2000. Then Tom Coughlin took over for Fossil, and performance and accountability defined a Giants standard that galvanized 2 Super Bowl championships. Most memorably, Coughlin's rule that players had to show up 5 minutes early to every meeting or practice constantly reinforced his Giants' expectations. It was to let you know that if you're not willing to do this little thing by coming early, then you probably aren't dedicated to the team, Toomer said. And those kinds of little tests have to be made all the time. Toomer has been reminiscing candidly about the glory days of last week because he is frustrated with what he has seen from his beloved Giants the past 2 years, and he is far from the only one. Obviously, we're talking about Michael Strahan waving the Eagles flag. So Toomer thinks that the Giants organization should be held to that same standard now. We had to perform to remain on the Giants, Toomer said. We had to prove our mettle year in, year out, play in, play out. And it was very conditional. So now that I'm not a player anymore and I'm on the other side of things, I want to hold the organization the same standard that they held us to where we're not just going to be sitting back and cheering and all that stuff. We're going to support the team because we love the organization, Toomer said. But when I see the organization kind of flowering the way it is, and then I see the organization kind of just say, oh, well, let's just do the same thing again and we'll see if it gets any better. That's where I'm just going to like, nah, man, I can't understand where Strahan's he said, I can understand where Strahan's coming from. And I think a lot of people are like that. We're just disappointed. Toomer has earned the right to talk like that about the Giants, with whom he played his entire 13-year NFL career with. Same thing with Michael, right? He holds the Giants franchise record for career receptions, 668, receiving yards, 9,497, and touchdown catches with 54, and consecutive games with a catch of 98. He also holds the Giants postseason record for receptions of 44, 608 yards, and touchdowns with 7. That includes 21 catches, 280 yards, and 3 touchdowns during the Giants' playoff run in Super 42, right? The top of the undefeated Patriots. So this is not a hater talking. This is a player who bled blue trying to constructively criticize something he knows to be wrong in order to help turn the franchise he loves around. I love Brian Daboll and I love Joe Shane, Toomer said, but at the end of the day, this is not a personality contest. This is a results business, and the results just aren't there. It's not personal. I don't hate those guys. I just want the results. It's like, show me the baby. Show me the money, right? Show me something to be proud of. Toomer said it's not just former players on the outside who are disappointed. It goes all the way to the top of the organization internally. There should be nobody comfortable in that building, Toomer said. The last 2 years, I know the owner's not happy. I know that for a fact. I know that the front office isn't happy. Why is co-owner John Mara running back this regime then if he isn't happy? I really can't answer that, Toomer said. I can't answer that. That's his decision. Numerous issues stand out to Toomer that must be corrected, though. Drafting and development. Now, last year, the drafting was very good. The problem we have is developmental of our players, right? The draft picks have not panned out. It's sad to see players have to go other places to let their talent show. The development of our players is just not there. No, I said the last year, the draft class was very, very good. Very good. But they need to develop these players better. That might be one of the reasons why Henderson is no longer the cornerback coach, because he did not develop Banks. They drafted Banks, and he started taking a little step backwards. Didn't develop him. Maybe that's a reason why he's not there. Bobby Johnson, right, the offensive line coach, couldn't develop anybody. Our offensive line was just shambles. Right, couldn't pick up a stunt, couldn't pick up anything. Right, I mean, Zudu, Neal, a lot of these guys, the younger guys, was not able to develop them. So maybe that's one of the reasons why he went bye-bye. Attention to detail on the field. Kicks, block, tackling. Tackling is atrocious. Being in the right position, not blowing coverages, catching the football, making the extra effort to block, not fumbling the football, turnovers. Those are things that kill you as a football team. unforced errors. In the NFL, they say more games are lost than won. That's the old adage. There were about 9 or 10 games that were lost with no opportunity to win because of the self-inflicted wounds that the Giants had. It had nothing to do with the other team. Lack of effort. We have a corner out there who's not. We have a corner out there who's not. We have somebody out there. I'm not going to say any names who's not putting forth effort. I guess he's talking about Banks. That is the basics of winning. How do you not play with effort in the NFL? That's one of two things. Either they're not holding them accountable or the team isn't deep enough to where you have a real fear of losing a position every day of the week. Well, I'll tell you what, if we bring in a cornerback, we draft a cornerback early on, well, that might put a little bit more fear into Mr. Banks losing his job. Letting good players go. When you let a guy like Saquon, who was all the above, and just because he plays running back, you don't have the creativity to figure out how to make the running back, how to have the best player be the focal point of your offense, I have a problem with that because that's not how my experience or any oldest players' experience with the Giants was. If you can play, you're going to stay here. Not good enough up front. The Eagles took the Giants playbook, then took how we won in 07 and 11 and created the team around a defensive line that took one of the most elite quarterbacks we've seen in years and made him look pedestrian. You need to build up the trenches. You can win in this league without an elite quarterback. You cannot win this league without an elite offensive line. Cultural questions. We let 3 Pro Bowlers walk out the building. Xavier McKinney, Saquon, and Leonard Williams. We let them just go. And I'm sure there's more of them. Evan Ingram, even Sterling Shepard played well. J Love with special sauce, right? That's a cultural problem. And you can draft whoever you want. We could have drafted Patrick Mahomes. If that culture is not there, that's a big problem. How does an NFL team change a culture? Toomer knows from experience dating back to his days watching Reeves and Young transition to Corsi and Fassel, and eventually to Coughlin and GM Jerry Reese. You've got to change everything, Toomer said. The way you practice everything, so there's nothing similar from last year. Comfortability kills a team. That's true. And they feel comfortable, raise the bar of expectations to the point where if you don't want to become part of this team, it becomes brutally honest. For more Toomer's on, well, so, yeah. Toomer was not happy at all. But one of the things is that, and I understand what he's talking about, but as far as like letting guys go, one of the problems is that, we should bring in a new regime, right? I mean, Julian Love was not drafted by these guys. Saquon Barkley was not drafted by these guys. Xavier McKinney was not drafted by these guys. Leo the Lion, right? He was not traded for by these guys. Yeah, I mean, we let all these guys go, but I mean, a lot of these guys, a lot of them, it's like, we want to win with our guys. We drafted these guys. We're going to play with these guys. We're bringing these guys in. These are our guys. Those guys just came with the team. They let Daniel Jones go. I mean, that's one of the problems when you have all this turnover, right? The same thing's going to happen. Same thing's going to happen, right? If you let Shane and Daboll go, either this year or next year, whatever it might want to be, and the new regime that comes in is going to look at the roster. That's cool. A couple guys there. They're not our guys. I don't like any of these guys. We got to bring our own guys in. And you let these guys go and bring in our own guys. So it's very, very difficult. Very, very. It's not, obviously it's not that easy. But one thing is we get another good draft class in here. But certain things he's absolutely right about, like one with Banks. I mean, you got a lot of fire under that guy's rear end or something. I mean, it just you bring somebody in, right? I mean, it's well, you sit on the bench there, Banks. If you want to play, you better put you on the field, you better your rear end better be on fire. You better be running. You better be jumping over piles. You better be tackling. You better be. Right? If not, you just sit on the bench. We'll just and we'll just let you go. Right? But yeah, I mean, so I'm sure it's very, very disappointing. I mean, it's disappointing for everybody. I mean, I've seen the bad. Yeah, I mean, I came in the '70s. We were horrible, right? And then in the '80s with Parcells, and then we came kind of down a little bit in the '90s, and then with Coughlin back up and won a couple Super Bowls, and now we're back down again. Yes, I've been on the roller coaster ride. So hurts me just as much as it does him. Yeah, I mean, of course, I haven't played for the Giants like he did, but we all bleed blue. It's very, very difficult. So, but let's see what happens this year. All right. Now we got this here. Now, this here, very, very interesting. The worst move that the Giants can make in the draft. I've seen this article here. And if we talk about this here, right? I mean, something the Giants didn't do last year. And then 3 out of the last 4 years in the draft, they only drafted one. I believe it was, right? 2021, 2023, and 2024, we drafted one offensive lineman. Not very good, right? Let's see, this in 2020, was it 2023? We drafted John Michael Schmitz. No other offensive lineman. Last year, we didn't draft the offensive lineman in 2021. I mean, my God, what a dumpster fire class that was. Absolutely straight up freaking dumpster fire. 2021. Oh my God. Kadarius Toney, Aaron Robinson, who was probably going to be maybe a decent cornerback, but then he got injured, and he was never able to. Right, so he's gone. Right, Ellerson Smith, a guy couldn't walk without popping a hamstring or something. Like I couldn't stay healthy. It's unbelievable. Gary Brightwell. Right, and Rodarius Williams. I mean, the only one was Azeez Ojulari, but of course, all he did was get injured. I mean, what a class that was. But once again, no offensive lineman. Right now, of course, in 2022, we drafted an offensive line, Evan Neal and Joshua Zudo. We haven't really developed them that well, right? And of course, Marcus McKeithen, he's gone, right? But we're not even sure if Zudo and McKeithen, Zudo, Neal might be the last year with the Giants. I can't see the Giants picking up Neal's fifth-year option. Right? Yeah. So, but this is one of the problems, especially with Bobby Johnson, right? Not developing, this young talent, right? We brought in all these guys, and it's like some of these guys just look lost out there. Totally lost. So the worst move the Giants could make in the roster building process, not drafting any offensive lineman, could lead to disaster in the roster building process. Now, the one thing is you should always try to at least, maybe draft, somebody on the offensive line, especially if you have 8 picks. One of them should be on the offense. One should be on the defensive line. Whether it's an edge rusher, a defensive lineman, or an offensive lineman, you should always draft somebody there. I said, I mean, a lot of times, if you wait till the 6th round to draft a defensive lineman, I mean, chances are, an edge rusher, chances are it may not necessarily wind up being a home run hitter, right? But you can certainly draft an offensive lineman in the later rounds, and they can work out, right? There's more. I would have to think that there's more successful undrafted free agent offensive linemen, more successful 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round offensive linemen than there are defensive linemen. So having as many picks as the Giants, 8, right? And not drafting an offensive lineman this year would be a mistake. The famous philosopher George Santayana, whatever the heck that is, once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." Ooh, good words. I like that. Giants can learn from the quote this offseason from looking back at their roster construction in the past years. General Manager Joe Shane did not select an offensive lineman in last year's draft. Instead, he solidified the line by signing Jermaine Illuminor, John Runyon Jr., and Greg Van Roten in free agency to solidify the lines. And, to all intents and purposes, the line was pretty good. I mean, until it started, obviously Andrew Thomas got injured, Illuminor missed some time, Van Roten was the only one in there that stayed healthy the whole time. Runyon got injured, right? He played the whole season with a separated shoulder, right? Everybody went in there, seemed Schlotman, whatever you want to pronounce his name. He got injured right off the bat. I mean, it was just a disaster, pretty much as it is every year. They also had backup guards Aaron Stinney and Austin Schlotman, but it was not enough as the offensive line dealt with many injuries, as it seemed like every year. Giants used 10 different offensive line combinations, and they tied for the most in the league. The line improved in the early stages. It did. It did reasonably well. Yep. But the progress went out the window when Andrew Thomas went down with a season-ending foot injury. The coaching staff tried Josh Rizzuto, a long-time tackle Chris Hubbard instead of Thomas. But both players were benched for poor play. They were forced to shift Illuminor from right tackle over to left tackle. This led to the 2020 first-round pick Evan Neal resuming duties on the right side after starting his season on the bench. Neal was supposed to cross-train as a guard in the offseason before ankle surgery put a wrench in that plan. The interior offensive line was more sturdy than the tackle positions. Van Roten started all 17 games, and Runyon started 13 games before suffering his season-ending injury. John Michael Schmitz missed 2 games this season while dealing with a shoulder injury for the second consecutive year. Now, he needs to develop, too. He needs to develop. As a unit, the line finished the season with 215 total pressures, 45 quarterback hits, and 48 sacks allowed. They also ranked 26th in pass block win rate and 27th run block win rate. They ranked 23rd in PFF's offensive line ranking, which was better than the year before. Right? The offensive line experienced similar issues in 2023, allowing 85 sacks, the second most in league history since sacks became a track stat. Even after that season, Shane opted to bring in veteran free agents instead of the draft. This time, he should take notes from division rivals, the Eagles, on how they built their line. Well, also, the Eagles also have maybe the top 2 or so offensive line coaches in all of football. They're blessed with that. Okay, doesn't matter who they bring in. They're blessed with a really good offensive line coach. Philadelphia drafted 5 offensive linemen in the last 4 draft classes. They used premium draft picks, drafting a lineman in the first 3 rounds in 3 out of their 4 previous drafts to solidify the line and add depth. They also do a terrific job allowing the prospects to develop in a backup role, something the Giants don't do. I mean, you bring somebody in, and a lot of times you put somebody in there to back up, and it's like, oh my God, right? Developing the young players is just not there. Not there. This season, the Eagles' offensive line ranked 6th in pass block win rate and 9th in run block win rate. They also finished the season with the second most rushing yards in the league, only behind the Ravens. But with the Ravens, one of the biggest things with the Ravens, they love Lamar Jackson. Jalen Hurts does not provide that much of a running as Jalen Hurts. Not Jalen, as Lamar Jackson does. Shane drafted 4 offensive linemen in his first 4 draft classes, but none developed under. Shane drafted 4 linemen in his first 4 draft classes. He's only had 3 draft classes. What the hell he's talking about? But none developed under 2 different offensive line coaches. However, there is room for optimism under second-year coach Carmen Basillo. Last season, Neal was seen as a bust, but improved from a 39.8 overall PFF grade in 2023 to a 61.2 in 2024. According to PFF, he also ranked with a run blocking grade of 80.8. So his pass blocking grade is still shaky, but his run blocking is fantastic. That's why I move him in the guard, right? Giants need depth, but also have a hole at right guard. Van Roten is an unrestricted free agent this season. Giants should re-sign him and draft a guard to add depth to the interior line. Absolutely. In fact, Shane should not be afraid to add multiple offensive linemen during and after the draft. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sure he'll be bringing. I mean, always bringing in, without question. Always bringing in, guys. They have to win. Have to win a spot, obviously, on the team and all that. But especially if you got 8 picks, regardless. I mean, you should always be drafting somebody on the defensive line and somebody on the offensive line. I said the problem is a lot of times what you wind up getting, a lot of times, when you're drafting like a defensive lineman or an edge rusher, right? In the 6th and 7th round, like or 5th round for DJ Davidson. Let me see. Where are we? DJ Davidson. Was it 5th round? Yep, 5th round. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So when you're drafting, the 5th round, 6th round, 7th, those defensive linemen, a lot of times they're not super special. When you're drafting maybe an outside, an edge rusher or something like that, don't expect much. I mean, you get a body, right? But don't expect, we're not talking Reggie White, okay? If you want somebody really good on the deep edge, for the most part, right? Got to get them in the first couple rounds, for the most part. Just from seems like to me, especially edge rushers. It doesn't mean you can't find a diamond in the rough or something like that, but it just seems to me like if you're drafting a defensive tackle or an edge rusher, something like that, and you draft them later on, it's kind of like you got a warm body that can maybe walk and chew gum. That's, like, I mean, you're not getting super spectacular results from those guys. If you want somebody in the defense, get them early, right? How many times on the offensive line do you see offensive linemen play? A lot of times they play well together, though. But you can see undrafted free agents, guy drafted in the 6th round, the 5th round, the 4th round, the 7th round, who can be pretty decent offensive linemen. So, if you can get, if you got to have good coaching and you got to develop these guys, but you can draft somebody later on the offensive line, and once again, if you can develop them, if you have the good coaching, right, these guys can turn out to be okay, right, later on. But I said, if you're going to draft a defensive lineman or an edge rusher, get them early. But I mean, I said, especially if the Giants have this many draft picks, you really should, take a. I mean, I said, if they're not going to take a quarterback, I'd love to see him grab maybe if Carter's there, that would be fantastic. Well, not the defensive tackle from Michigan. Take one of those 2 guys, get somebody next to Sexy. Oh, man, that'd be fantastic. Really, really be good. All right, but now we're talking about, of course, here. So we're talking about here, okay, was upgrading at the cornerback position through the draft. May not be all that easy, all right? Unless you're going to take the guy was it Johnson, I think it is. I think it's a guy from Michigan. I think you're talking about it in his article here. But then, but if you're looking to upgrade, right, it doesn't mean you're taking a cornerback in the 6th round, right? Meaning if you're trying to maybe upgrade or maybe light a fire under this guy's rear end here to get this guy to go out there on the field and play some football, right? Maybe the way he can, right? If you're trying to, right, you want to grab somebody early. Right. I mean, we did really well with Phillips in the 3rd round. I mean, that was really, really good. So you might want to get somebody, kind of early on. But what they're talking about here in this article is that some of these guys, some of these cornerbacks that are coming out early have some issues with them. All right, what we got here? I said, Hunter, right? Yeah. And then again, he may not even be there for the Giants, right? Improving the Giants' cornerback position will be no easy task. This is from Ryan Dunleavy. Who is this here? On the New York Post. Good article here. Very, 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 very good article. If finding a franchise quarterback is the Giants' number one offseason priority, upgrading at cornerback should be considered 1A. To me, upgrading the defensive line would, to me. Because if you can control the line of scrimmage, you give yourself a chance. You saw what the Eagles did with the Chiefs. I mean, you let Patrick Mahomes run around there for an hour and a half, sooner or later he's going to find somebody open. You can have the best cornerbacks in the world. If you can't get to the quarterback, right? Any quarterback runs around long enough, somebody's going to get open, right? But if you saw what the Eagles did, right? Constantly pressure them, right? Give them don't, right? Choke them, right? Don't give them a chance to breathe, right? Constantly pressure him, hound him every time he goes back there, right? Right. That's you see how well the Super Bowl turned out for the Eagles, right? I mean, once again, that's the second time, right? That in the Mahomes era, right? He's lost two, right? 2 Super Bowls, right? Both of them. The loss to the Bucs. He had, I think, was his 2 tackles he was missing. He went back to pass against the Bucs. He was just running for his life. I mean, it was just, they didn't score a touchdown. I mean, it was 31-9, 30-9. I mean, yeah. They didn't score a touchdown. I think 3 field goals. When was the last time Patrick Mahomes' team didn't even score a touchdown in a game? Right. Then, of course, we had, they scored points in this Super Bowl, but I mean, it was just, the pressure from the Eagles. Right. So if you can control the line of scrimmage, right, you can do a lot. So, what makes the medical evaluation component of next week's NFL Combine so crucial for the Giants is that the prospects atop the 2025 cornerback draft class could be mistaken for the patients in an orthopedist waiting room. After General Manager Joe Shane emphasized clean injury histories and the track record of availability and roster building last offseason, he isn't going to like what he sees if he plans to draft a long-term running mate for Deonte Banks and slot corner Drew Phillips with his second-round pick, or on a trade-up from number 34 back into the first round. Though Colorado cornerback / receiver Travis Hunter is a clean prospect with unanimous top 4 projections, something to think about, right? Michigan's Will Johnson missed the final 7 games of last season with a turf toe. And we know the MetLife Stadium is not kind to people, right? Johnson was widely expected to be a top 12 pick anyway, previously had knee surgery that sidelined him for the first 3 games in 2023. Among the targets that might fall within striking range for the Giants, Notre Dame's Benjamin Morrison missed the final 10 games after undergoing hip surgery. East Carolina's Siobhan Revell Jr. missed the final 10 games after tearing his ACL during practice. And Kentucky's Maxwell Hairston missed 5 consecutive games with a shoulder injury that reportedly required hospitalization. A lot of the quarterbacks who had a lot of the preseason hype were hurt, so you just don't know, ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed told the Post. The one who has really risen up the board is Isaiah Thomas from Florida State. I hope I said that name right. Thomas has the potential to develop into a number 1 cornerback because he is an athletic freak and I think the best press man corner. He's only 20 years old, so he has youth working on his side. In today's pass-first NFL, needing a franchise quarterback and a number 1 cornerback is a precarious place to reside. Yeah, that's true. Giants ranked second to last in the NFL in cornerback spending last season at just $9.3 million. Well, because you figure they got Banks, right? Rookie deal, right? Cordell Flott, rookie deal. Andrew Phillips, rookie deal. So a lot of their starters well, the times that they were healthy, right? Rookies. So, I mean, that's one of the things. You're going to have some rookie issues, right? Cordell Flott didn't do too bad. Interesting to see, what they think about him. And the bill only jumped slightly to 11.6 in 2025, according to overthecap.com, for their spending, I guess, on cornerbacks. Only the three-time defending AFC champion Chiefs, who had the transformative 2023 draft classes in the secondary, spent less. Deontay Banks speaks to the add the concerns about the health of the draft class to the internal desire to take some pressure off Banks after he took a major step back in his development, plus Shane's belief in allocating resources to premium positions, and the three-part equation suggests that the Giants could be on the verge of a significant investment in quarterback. That's where supply equals demand. Cornerback is the position deepest with starters in free agency. So the Giants could fill their need during the time between seeing the soon-to-be rookies, medicals, and getting off the draft clock. So, because let's not forget, a few weeks, got free agency, right? But the thing is that you'll have the combine, so they'll see the medicals, I guess, right? The combine before free agency starts, so they'll have a better idea of what the draft might have for the Giants, right? Only the Browns generated fewer interceptions than the Giants, who had 5. The Jets' DJ Reed, 49ers' Charvarius Ward, Lions' Carlton Davis, Chargers' Asante Samuel Jr., and Vikings' Byron Murphy Jr. all would provide the Giants with a top corner who is 28 years old or younger. Pro Football Focus projects all 5 free agents to ink 3-year contracts to pay between $14 and $17 million per season. That's something the Giants could do. Certainly something the Giants can do. And then if they could do that, they'll have the number 1 corner. They could put Banks at the number 2, right? And then you got Phillips in the slot. There you go. And now you can think about grabbing, lineman, defensive lineman / edge runner, quarterback. Maybe grab another wide receiver in the 2nd round or 3rd round, something like that. Maybe grab another running back, maybe later on in the draft, right? Because the obviously, something to think about also is what we're doing. There's a lot to talk about too, but it's also we're not bringing Pinnock back. Don't know if we are or not, but we need another safety. So, but cornerback would be huge, right? So, but there are guys out there the Giants could bring in, maybe pay them, right? Yeah, they have to pay them. Slide them in as your number 1 cornerback, right? And it wouldn't break. It's not like you're spending $35 million on somebody. It's not like you're bringing in Stafford for $40 million or whatever. We'll talk about him in just a minute, right? Reed also knows he is a fit for the pressure of New York, and the Giants just hired former Jets safeties coach Marquand Emmanuel as their defensive backs coach. One factor that could turn everything on its head would be if the Giants land a veteran quarterback like Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford while retaining the number 3 pick. Then the idea of pairing Hunter with both of the Giants' past 2 first-round picks, Banks and Malik Neighbors, on the offense is tantalizing. Giants just hired former Patriots great Troy Brown, a Pro Bowl receiver who played part-time cornerback late in his career as an offensive assistant. When you limit Hunter to one side of the ball, you are taking away from who he is, Reed said. In my opinion, he's a better cornerback, but a player so rare like this, just get him in your building, let him develop, and let him play itself out to see which side of the ball he is most comfortable with. I mean, my goodness. I mean, could you imagine? I mean, if he works out as a pretty good wide receiver, could you imagine Wan'Dale Robinson, Malik Neighbors, and a pretty good wide receiver? Right? If his body's able to stand playing on both sides of the ball, you let him do that. Your job as a coach or a GM is to put the best 11 players on the field, and you can make a stronger argument that he's included in the best 11 on both sides of the ball. So that's certainly something, without question, the Giants, need to think about, But, there are, that is one thing. There are some good quality starting cornerbacks, free agents, right, that aren't going to break the bank either. And I said the Giants, we're talking about, let's talk about this here, shall we? Where are we here? Here we go. Let's bring it up. Right. Booyah! So, and I won't necessarily break the bank. Now, the salary cap jumps up. It hasn't been official yet, but the NFL went out and brought it up to the teams and gave them a parameter for where it's going to be at. Where are we at here? Is that it? Nope. There we go. All right. Okay. Dan Graziano of ESPN reported that the league has informed the teams that we have the 2025 NFL salary cap will be between $277.5 million and $281.5 million, which is well beyond the $272 million initially projected by Over the Cap. So it's going to go up at least $5 million from what they were thinking, maybe 272. And once again, that's a big leap. It's going to go up at least $20 million from last year, right? All right, let's see here. The NFL salary cap won't be finalized for another week or two, but there is some very promising news regarding that teams will be able to spend this offseason. That was the same thing last year, too, because remember, if you remember, right, when Shane, one of the good things about the Hard Knocks was Shane was sitting at his desk and he got I think it was a text. I think he got. I don't remember who it was from, but it was the salary cap, and he was thinking it was going to be whatever 240 or something like that, and it was like an additional $10 million or whatever it was, and it was like whoa, So he knew he had a little bit extra money to spend. Unfortunately, of course, he didn't spend it on the right player, if you know what I mean. But so he knew he had some money to spend. But it's the same thing here. I mean, the salary cap's going up, and the Giants do have, they have over $40 million, right? But they have the capability, if they were like Graham Gano go. Who the heck is the other guy? Oh, Nacho. If they were like Nacho go, Graham Gano go, and then it can restructure like 4 or 5 guys. Obviously Burnsy is one of them. There's some of the top-notch guys, Runyon Jr., right? Some of the other guys. I mean, they could literally get another probably $40 to $45 million. But I'm saying, but if they would let Graham Gano go, they got McAtamy on the roster. They could draft a kicker. I even seen in one of the mock drafts, the Giants were supposed to, mock draft. That's all it is. Draft a kicker. But there's 35 million kickers out there. They can bring a kicker in for $1 million or whatever, compared to Graham Gano. Love the guy to death, but he's been getting injured all the time. Plus, he's up there in age, too. His leg is getting a little bit weaker, right? And he's getting injured. But, I mean, Nacho is not your cup of tea, shall I say, right? He's not. Yeah, nothing super special. So, I mean, if we let those guys go, I know we could save. There'd be a little bit of dead money, but I know we could save 5, 6, 7 million between the two. If we let those 2 guys go, So, Giants, they have some money to spend. They do have some money to spend. The thing is, we'll have to wait and see, what they're doing at the quarterback position, right? Are they, they're going out. They're going to go balls to the wall, crazy, and got to bring Darnold in here, we're going to talk about Stafford here in a second. We're going to Russell Wilson or one of those, or we're going to bring Aaron Rodgers in here. They're going to spend $30, $40 million a year on a quarterback. So I have to wait and see. Or we're going to bring in like a Justin Fields, somebody like that, right? Somebody to carry the torch, hold the torch for, Justin Fields would not be a ton of money, right? All right, where are we at here? Whoop. Doop, 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 doop. Oh, here we go. All right. Graziano's citing the memo circulated in the 32 NFL teams about the pending increase, about the anticipated jump as a result of the fact that the 2024 player cost and salary cap amount was reduced by $10 million per club due to a $9 million smoothing adjustment, whatever the frick that is, and an incremental $1 million being added to the performance-based pay. This significant increase is great news for the Giants. Using an initial $272 million figure, the Giants were projected to have $41.39 million of total salary cap, which was the 14th most in the league, of which $31.7 million is considered effective cap space. That means pretty much like after signing your rookie class, your draft class, and all. So now that this new range has been established, the Giants, who per over the cap, have $232 million in total cap liabilities on the books for 2025 already, will see an increase in their total cap space from $45 million to $49 million. So almost $50 million, right? I said if they were let go, Nacho, Gano, that would put them at probably around $55 million, maybe even 56. If they were to reconstruct some, some of the, like I said, like Burns, John Runyon Jr., I don't know, maybe I don't know, Sexy, Dexter Lawrence, some of those the guys with the big salaries, right? We do some of their contracts. I know I seen an article the Giants could get like another 40 or 45 million. So the Giants could, possibly get around $90 million in cap space if they wanted to go all out, balls to the wall, right? So you could certainly do some damage with that. Giants cap situation was already in solid shape before this announcement, even though New York has $27.299 million in dead money, but 22 of that is from Daniel Jones. Okay, and as of right now, from what I remember from Spot Track, is that next as of right now they don't have any dead money. Right, so all that money, of course, they'll probably have some dead money for next year, but I mean. Out of $27 million that they have in dead money, 22 of it is from Daniel Jones. Right? For a bigger picture perspective, the Giants, who are likely going to need spend big money on a veteran quarterback and possibly a veteran cornerback, among others, during the upcoming free agency period, don't necessarily have to make any cap cuts or restructures to players already on their roster. However, they could still do so if a player is no longer in the team's upcoming plans. Like that. Defensive lineman Nacho, $5.033 million cap hit, and kicker Graham Gano, $5.665 million cap hit, are two such players whose respective statuses with the team are in question. This year's draft class features a deep pool of defensive linemen that the Giants could turn to in place of Nacho, who was in the final year of his contract, and the Giants would yield a $3.6 million savings if he is cut. Meanwhile, Gano has struggled with his kicking the last two seasons. He's converted just 64% of his attempts of 40-plus yards over the last 2 seasons and has struggled to stay healthy. And he could become a cap casualty if the Giants decide to go in another direction. Gano has 2 years remaining on his contract with all the guaranteed money owed having been paid out already. The Giants were to move on from him this year, they'd save $3.165 million and take a $2.5 million dead cap hit. So that would be $3 million. So let's see. So they would save over $7 million if they were to let Nacho go, and if they were to let Graham Gano go, over $7 million. So they might have about $49 million. Plus, if they let those two guys, that would give them another, they would have what would that be, like $56 million, I said. Plus, they got to sign their draft class. So that's going to knock it down. But if they were to possibly, like, without restructuring anybody else's contracts, right? If they were let Nacho go and Graham Cano go, after they sign their draft class and the top 51 players and all that, the Giants have, probably roughly about $45 million to spend, 40 to 45 million in free agency. And I said they can certainly bump that up quite a bit if they start restructuring some contracts. So the thing is that, they do, I don't want to see them bring somebody in just for a year because, bringing somebody, restructure some kind of, to bring in a top-notch free agent to bring somebody in for a year is, it's not, because we're not going to the Super Bowl next year. So if we bring somebody in, let's bring some. Look, they were talking about those cornerbacks. There's a lot of good quality cornerbacks from $14 to $17 million, which is right down the Giants. Right, if they're going to make a little splash, that might be the way to go. And the guys are young, so we're not bringing them in for 1 year. We're not bringing them in for 2 years. You sign it for maybe 3 or 4. You sign it for 4, but you can get out after 3. Right, but so that way we'll have some good quality cornerbacks in here between Phillips. We bring in a free agent and maybe Banks, and then now we got a couple of years to see what Banks is going to do. What are you going to do, buddy? You're going to play some football, right? You're going to buckle the chin strap. You're going to go out there and play some hard-nosed football. We're just going to have to bench you and just let you go or something. So we'll have to wait and see. But Giants, are in a good position. They certainly have some money without question. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, and then also another thing too is even next year they got a lot of money next year. Lots of money. And of course, speaking about next year, another year and the Giants lose another running backs coach. Well, the guy that they had last year was he went back to with Nolans, Kellen Moore. Basically, just kind of took him away. But the Giants, it's like every year they just keep losing running back coaches. That we got one guy every year, and then he's gone. The next guy gone. If we look. Let's see, if we look here, since 2018, who we had here? Craig Johnson. Oh, we had Craig Johnson for 2 years with Shermer. Right? Where's he at? Craig Johnson. We had Craig Johnson 2018 and 2019. Of course, then Shermer was gone. Then Judge came in. He brought his running back coach in, which is the guy who coached at Alabama. He was here for 2 years. Where are we at here? Burton Burns. He was very, very good. I think Derrick Henry said he was his favorite running back coach. He came in from Alabama, so he was here for 2 years. Burton Burns, 2020 and 2021. I do believe, right? Yeah, 2021. And then, of course, Judge was gone. So then, of course, now we got to 2022. DeAndre Smith was here, 2022. And, of course, 2023. Jeff Nixon was the running back coach. And last season, there we are there. Running back coach, Joel Thomas. So Joel Thomas is no mas. So now we have to bring. The thing is, it's a running back coach. Heck, we brought Troy Brown in. He's like a Swiss Army knife. So, heck, I wouldn't even mind giving Troy Brown a shot at letting him coach the running backs. But Saints, Kellen Moore steals key coach from the Giants staff. Giants will be without running back coach Joel Thomas after his return to the Saints. Giants were initially happy to hear that the Saints were hiring the Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore to be their next head coach. For one, that's an obstacle Philadelphia will have to clear in their post-championship offseason. Brain drain that will force next year's offense to undergo some semblance of a transition period. More importantly, it kept New York offensive coordinator Mike Kafka in the house. He had been a finalist for the job, interviewing multiple times, but this deep in the process, his departure and potential coaching hires would have left head coach Brian Daboll with a beleaguered staff. And yet Daboll's misfortune continued anyway. Moore stole a key coach, Joel Thomas, from the Giants staff. According to Tom Pelissero, running back coach Joel Thomas was hired by Moore, returning to New Orleans after a single season in New York. Notably, Thomas spent the 9 prior seasons from 2015 to 2023 with the Saints, working under head coach Sean Payton and Dennis Allen. He managed backfields with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, 2 studs, the former developing into one of the game's most weaponized stars. Perhaps those prior successes make Giants running back Tyrone Tracy's rookie success less surprising. As a former receiver, there were legitimate questions about how well and how soon he'd be able to contribute between the tackles as a starting caliber running back, amassing over 1,000 yards from scrimmage and impacting both facets of the offense. He quickly put those concerns to rest. Thomas is one of the most well-respected assistant coaches in football, spending 15 years rising up the college ranks, largely presiding over the running backs. He also isn't the first running backs coach to leave after a single season under Daboll. In fact, every one of Daboll's running back coaches has lasted just 1 year with the Giants. A year after firing Brenton Burns, Daboll was hired and brought along DeAndre Smith, who departed in a lateral move for the Indianapolis Colts in 2023. His replacement, Jeff Nixon, took Syracuse's offensive coordinator job. And now Thomas has left town as well. Doesn't have to be anything more than a coincidence and bad luck, but it's one more offseason need for Daboll to face. Without elite talent at the position and the staff's collective seat already warm, New York may have trouble replacing Thomas as swiftly as it would hope. Well, I mean, there are a lot of running back coaches out there. So let's see here. Thomas' relationship with Purdue running back coach Lamar Conrad was instrumental in the Giants selecting running back Tyrone Tracy Jr. in round 5. So that was the one thing there. Thomas had a relationship with the Purdue running back coach. That's why we brought in Tyrone Tracy Jr. Tracy compiled 1,123 yards from scrimmage as a rookie. Jeff Nixon was the Giants running back coach in 2023. He left after a year to become the offensive coordinator of Syracuse. DeAndre Smith, right? He was here and he left after 1 year. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's not, I mean, obviously, of course, it's an important, coaching position. I mean, we don't have, if we had Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, you can just wind those guys up and just go play, right? Just find a hole and just run. But we certainly could use some help there. That's for sure. So, obviously they're going to find somebody. It's not the end of the world, but it's just kind of like every year we get a coach, running back coach in here, and at the end of the year he goes someplace else. And we get another coach in here, someplace else. It's kind of like we had Burton Burns here, right? It is what it is, but we'll certainly find somebody. But that would be to me, that would certainly be I'd like to see him add somebody, a good running back. That's what we did with Tracy in the 5th round. Right? If we got Singletary, Tracy, I'm not so sure, what the future holds for Eric Gray. But if we would draft somebody in the 4th or 5th round, I'm sure we can get a good, competent running back, right, to add to this group. Because I mean, it's not one of our strong points, that's for sure. Right. All right, and then finally, right, is this it? Yep, there we go. All right, here we go. Oh yeah. So, well, apparently, there's one article here. So what the Rams are asking for. Anyway, of course, I saw an article a couple days ago that the Giants might have. I seen a few of them. I seen one of them. Maybe it was like a week to 10 days ago. Somebody said maybe a second round pick for Stafford and another second round pick for Stafford. Then I saw 3-4 days ago, whatever. I saw maybe a second round pick and then maybe a third round pick. Okay, fine. But now once again, you don't know who to believe, right? But then, of course, now there's this latest article coming out here that it might be a little more expensive than just a second round pick for Mr. Stafford. So we're gonna have to wait and see. But Giants were told what it will take to trade for Matthew Stafford. Now, because obviously there was not just the Giants inquiring about him, I guess. There were multiple teams, right? Said the New York Giants look to trade for star quarterback Matthew Stafford, Fox Sports' Jordan Schultz reported that the Los Angeles Rams' asking price wouldn't be cheap. A trade for Matthew Stafford reportedly won't come cheap should the Giants try and acquire his talents this offseason. On the heels of the Super Bowl, rumors of an impending divorce between Stafford and the Rams have reached a fever pitch. The star quarterback is actively seeking a new contract with future guarantees that will make him one of the top 10 highest paid players at his position. Yeah, I can understand that. Top 10, toe to top of the 10, yeah, because of his age. Los Angeles, meanwhile, is hesitant to make a significant financial commitment to a veteran whose long-term future is clouded in doubt, per the Athletic's Jordan Rodriguez, I guess that's how you pronounce it. If Stafford is in fact on his way out of Los Angeles, there will surely be no shortage of interested suitors, chief among them being the Giants. During the 2024-2025 campaign, the Giants had a revolving door at signal caller. Obviously, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan, and, of course, Tim Boyle, all taking snaps under center. That's, once again, a recipe for disaster. Given the lackluster play at the sport's most important position, many pundits expect New York to select either Miami's Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders with the number 3 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, rather than immediately thrusting a rookie quarterback into the starting role next season. However, rumblings suggest the Giants could instead turn to a veteran in Stafford. According to Fox Sports' Jordan Schultz, New York would have to part ways with a first-round pick in exchange for the 37-year-old. Now, there ain't no way it's going to be pick number 3 in the draft. That ain't happening, okay? But several teams, per league sources, have called LA about Stafford, and the belief is a first-round pick would probably be the asking price should the Rams choose to make a deal. Schultz wrote, again, the Rams want him back. He also carries a $49.3 million cap hit if released. And there's been nothing to this point that would suggest Stafford doesn't want to play for them. But this is undoubtedly one of the biggest storylines heading into free agency next month. Absolutely. Before then, the Rams and Stafford's agent are planning to meet in Indianapolis to see if they can find a common ground. While a first rounder is likely the Rams' asking price, though, right? ESPN's Adam Schefter asserted that the Giants wouldn't surrender this year's top 5 pick in a potential trade. I saw people floating the 3rd overall pick. Let me be very clear. That pick is not in the conversation of Matthew Stafford and the Rams can't get a deal worked out. And if Matthew Stafford becomes available and all of a sudden the Giants surface as a contender, he said, while making an appearance on the Talking Ball with Pat Leonard, if all those things happen, and they could, if all those things happen, there is no chance in HEL double hockey sticks that the Giants are giving up the 3rd overall pick for Matthew Stafford. 0. So that's not happening. So now, what's it going to wind up being? Who knows, right? Going to be a conditional first round pick next year. I mean, who knows, right? I mean, if they, it'd have to be, that's the beauty of a trade. It can be all kinds of things, right? And make him conditional, right? Well, if he plays whatever 75% of the snaps, if he whatever, it's this many yards passing, this many touchdowns, if he makes a Pro Bowl, blah blah blah. If he leads them to the playoff, if he leads them to a winning record, whatever, we'll give you our first round pick next year. Unless it's in the top 15, then it'll be a second round pick, and then the following year something. It can be all kinds of stuff, but there's absolutely no way at all that the Giants are giving up the third pick in this year's draft. I mean, I said if they're going to give him a first round pick, it would have to be next year. But you also have to, you got to look too. I mean, right? Let's be pretty honest here, right? I mean, the Giants have a lot of holes. Right, without question, got a lot of holes. If you look at their schedule, I don't even know how many wins we're going to get at home next year. I mean, just straight up honest with you, I don't know how many teams are going to beat at home next year. I mean, we got. I don't know if we have I think the hardest strength of schedule next year. I mean, we're like, I don't quite grasp. Aren't you supposed to be kind of rewarded for being crappy? I mean, where's the easy schedule at? You look at it, it's like that's like the hardest schedule in all of football. It's like, so you have to be realistic too. I mean, if the Giants say, "Well, we'll give you our next year's first round pick," that could be a top 10 pick as well too. I mean, even if we do fill some holes, the Giants are going to get injured. That's a guarantee, right? Right. We got a hard schedule. We're going to get injuries. I mean, we could be in the top 10 again. Do you want to give a top 10 pick to the Rams from Matthew Stafford? So, a lot of things going on. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 47 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Piece of the world. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants! Woo! Oh yeah!